Man.
Attention, everybody. The views and opinions.
And good Friday morning. It is still Friday. A lot of people calling it Fry-yay these days. It's the Morning Mouth. I'm your host, Johnny Rooster, alongside Pastor Matt.
Pastor Matt here.
We've got a very unique guest in the house today. Going to be talking about the first man of breast cancer. Yes, I know it's an alarming title. It's Joe
The first
Daues.
man of breast cancer.
Joe Daues is no stranger to journalism and broadcasting here in our Queen City. Joe, how are you this morning?
Well, I've been called a lot of things, and that's the first time I've ever heard that one.
We always want on the Morning Mouth to be something different than you'll hear anywhere else.
You've already accomplished that today.
Excellent.
Glad to be here. Glad to be
right
here.
out of the box. Well, Joe's been a news anchor. You've been a lot of things in the public, but one of the things that you've done recently is quite a shift from your journalist path.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a journalist from the past as well. I was in the newspaper business, but you were in the broadcasting side. Tell me, why would somebody that has the status of a news anchor, that has that kind of credibility, want to go and be in a non-profit like what you're doing now?
Well, if you think about it, the two are actually more parallel than you might think, because journalists always try to hold themselves to a little higher standard. We always learned back in the day, you're the voice for the voiceless. You right the wrongs. You hold people accountable in
Yes.
high positions. So, it is a little bit more of a higher idealistic position than anything. So it really is not that much of a shift, therefore, to take a position at a not-for-profit to say, I'm going to go out and do some good in the world.
Okay, but what about breast cancer awareness? That's not a guy thing. Here you are, the first man at the helm. It looks like, shouldn't women kind of advocate for women? What's going on here?
Well, totally agreed. However, I think we'd all agree out there, because by now we all know that when breast cancer affects a family or a woman, it affects the entire family. So it's 1 out of 8 women. So if you think about the women in your family, chances are, statistically, it will impact you. And here's the thing most people don't know. Breast cancer affects 1 in 800 men. So if you just take, and I'll do the math while I'm talking on my calculator here, if you just take the population of Springfield, proper, 150,000 roughly, right? And divide that by 800, 187 men statistically are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer in Springfield. So most guys I know don't check or get a mammogram
True.
for breast cancer, right?
No, I've not had one.
Have you ever heard of a guy who has had breast cancer?
Personally, I've heard of it, but I don't know
Nobody,
anyone.
right.
I
So
don't know anyone.
if you got it, do you think you'd go out on
No.
Facebook and tell
Hey,
your
guys,
friends?
guess what I
Yeah,
got?
exactly. So the conversation's not there for men. And you can't test it.
Agreed.
Often when men get diagnosed, it's a more aggressive, it's hereditary, so it's that kind of a breast cancer. So this is a conversation guys probably ought to have. And women do self-checks all the time, and there's nothing wrong with feeling around there and saying, do I have a lump or something feel weird on my sternum, on my pec, anything like that. And most guys are so worried about building up their pecs anyway,
Yeah.
might as well check it out.
Well, that's true. Matt's been he's been losing weight. Let's just say that. He's my sidekick, but he was a lot bigger not so long ago.
Yeah.
And we all get the joke about man boobs and all of that, but in reality, men just don't want to discuss that. That's not something we talk about.
But really, though, it's the same. We have the same parts. It's just there are just some different sides, that women have. So it's not something you can't get. In fact, it's something we can all get. So it's something we should all talk about. My role in taking this position, though, at BCFO is not to bring the conversation to men specifically. This is an intergender discussion, and it's a disease that affects everybody now. So for me, I think it was a chance to go out and really make our community a better place, go out and raise money for an organization that puts all their money that it raises back into help local families. Like tonight, for instance, we have our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's called Hooked on Dance.
Yes.
And typically, this thing has 800 people in one room.
Hooked on Dance, 800 people in one room.
You can imagine that's not going to happen,
Yeah.
right? So we've known that all year long. We're having 40 virtual parties, connecting them on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And we're going to do a big fat Zoom call.
Okay.
And everybody joins in, like, hey, we're over here. And so we're going to do a raffle for mammograms. We pay for free screening mammograms for women
That
who
is
can't afford them.
It's very 2020 of you doing that Zoom call.
That's
but,
what you gotta,
you
right?
know,
What else are
but
you going to do?
You're doing the same thing with the same intent, even though the format might have changed. You're still going to help people. In fact, I think, Joe, you mentioned to me the other day about some people weren't actually going in to get their screening like they would have if there hadn't been a COVID issue. So they're getting behind on that?
This is, and it's not just our worry. This is a worry, I think, across the board in the healthcare world right now. And it's not just breast cancer. So when the world shut down in March, late March, went through April and May, nobody went out to get a regular screening. I don't care if you're getting prostate screening or mammogram screening or colorectal, whatever. If you were scheduled for that, or even if you weren't and you might have gone, that you didn't go because nobody went to a hospital, nobody went to the doctor. Heck, most people didn't leave their house.
Sure.
So our worry is, and the healthcare system in general is concerned that as we move through the rest of 2020 and go into 21, when people finally do go out and get a test, even if it's just their annual test, now we've missed the chance for early diagnosis.
Yes.
And instead of a stage 1, you might have somebody that gets diagnosed as a stage 2 or 3 if it's a very aggressive one. So now we're worried about that impact.
So what we're talking here, folks, is to Joe Daues. He is the CEO of Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks here in Springfield, Missouri. My name's Johnny Rooster. I'm your host for Morning Mouth. What we like to do on this program is talk about things you don't hear anywhere else. So we called him. Joe is the first man of breast cancer, and that's my term that the Johnny Rooster in me just said, this is what I'm going to call you. But this is interesting because you were allowed, this position came your way, and this was an honor for you to be able to receive this role, whereas it previously was held by a woman.
Absolutely, and the former director did a great job, and I don't take anything away from the people who came before me. Actually, I'm the third director of this organization. We're celebrating our 20th year. It was started by a woman, Mary Beth O'Reilly, when she went through breast cancer treatment herself and realized that in the care continuum, in that world out there of help and healthcare, there was something missing.
Yes.
So she said, I'm going to start this thing and make it happen. So it has been primarily a women's organization that helps all women. And I think that 20 years later, here's 3 guys on a radio show on the internet talking about breast cancer. So this probably would never have happened 20 years ago.
True. Well, I like that because you're giving something that we don't normally hear by someone we wouldn't normally hear it from. Now, you're going to tell us about something that's going on tomorrow. Is that right, about the Jeeps?
Okay, the Jeeps is next week, but
next
this
week,
is really exciting. So, this is something you don't hear.
No.
You're not going to hear anywhere else.
I want to hear about it here. You heard it here on the Morning Mouth right here.
Okay, if you got a Jeep out there, you'll get this. Everybody else is going to really start shaking their head. Right. So a couple years ago, a guy who owns a Jeep said, my girlfriend went through breast cancer treatment and BCFO helped her. So the Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks helped his girlfriend. He said, I want to do something to give back.
Yeah.
So he got a bunch of Jeep friends, and they went on a ride, and they raised some money. And we were so grateful and thankful. And the next year, which was last year, we said, hey, let's make it a little bit bigger. So instead of 30, 40 Jeeps, last year they had 140.
Okay.
And raised $25,000 for us.
They do this in October because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Precisely. And so last year, when I came on board last July, I sat down with Edmund McClure. That's the guy's name. And the cause, by the way, is Jeepin for a Cure.
Jeepin for a Cure.
And they're all over social media. So this last year, I said, we're going to put some skin in the game. So we're going to partner with Youngblood Jeep, so down in Ozark, right off Highway 65.
Yeah.
Youngblood said, we'll bring the food trucks, we'll get a band. I said, okay, we'll up the ante. BCFO will go out, and we will make an obstacle course for Jeeps.
Oh, wow.
And so now we've got over 250 Jeeps coming from Kansas City, St. Louis, all over the place. And they're going to come down here next Saturday. and they're going to go on a ride. They're going to meet in Ozark at 8 a.m., ride through Christian County, come back, and then have an afternoon with a band, food trucks, SBCs coming out. So, and then we go over and you do the obstacle course. It's going to be a great time.
And again, the start time is
Well, they'll leave at 10 a.m.
yeah.
And that's when they take their ride. And they're starting at Youngblood Jeep, and it's a $40 thing per Jeep.
Okay.
That's all you got to pay.
So can you still get in on it?
Just
you got
yeah.
a Jeep.
Just go to Jeepin
Doesn't matter
for
if it's
Cure.
a pretty Jeep, an ugly Jeep, or some other kind of Jeep.
Now, we got some antiques.
Can it be a Toyota?
Yeah, you know what?
Is that even allowed?
People have asked that, and we said, you know what? If you want to support Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks, come on. I don't care if you got a
Jeep
pickup
brand
or a
Toyota,
Jeep.
right?
They may not let you ride
Yeah.
the front of the parade.
You may
but-
not get the best positioning.
What if we like use window chalk
You
and
can-
put Jeep on the windows?
I mean, you could have a Toyota, but you're not going to have the pride of a Jeep owner.
I
Another-
also don't have the monthly payments of a Jeep owner either.
That's
So
Well, they won't hate. If you want to come, I mean, come on over. And let me give you a quick phone number if anybody's listening, 417-862-3838. Very simple. That's a BCFO office.
862-3838.
If you want some information about it, just call our office.
It's a 38 special kind of number. You
Nice.
You lock that in. 38.
You're going back to your rock and roll roots.
There you go. I was spinning the records back at Evangel right before the world changed. As soon as I graduated college, they started doing everything on computers.
what was it?
was
417
amazing.
what?
862-3838. What year was that?
1988. I
Oh
was
my
out of there,
gosh.
and it was so fun because I learned all this stuff with T-squares, and I designed the yearbook with old technology, and then they stuck it on computers.
You know,
right
hammer
after
and chisel
graduate.
and
Yes.
then rock.
Hey, I learned how to splice tape. So
yeah.
That's the early radio.
I learned
days
how
that
to
I
develop
did.
film in a dark room.
I was doing the dark
There
room
you go.
thing.
Yeah.
I did all that black and white photos.
Oh,
for
yeah.
our first
Oh,
front
yeah.
page.
There are people out there saying, "What are they talking about?"
Developing the film is the most difficult part because you can't have any light for
The
that.
smell of the D76, the chemical was.
Oh yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, it eroded my first wedding ring, and my first wedding did erode. By the way, my marriage didn't last. Neither did my ring.
Was it because of the
sign.
photograph?
Could have been
the
that
photography.
I never thought about that. Wow, he says with a hint of sarcasm. Hey, I'm noticing you've got
I like
a
how he
pink
narrates himself.
wristband.
Yeah.
And so, what does that one say?
I put this on last year when I took the job. This is a BCFO wristband. It says Beacon of Hope. This is something we did
I
some
was going
years
to say
ago.
save the Tatas, but that's not.
No,
No,
they
no,
used
no.
to have the
That's-
I
that's
Love
the other one.
Boobies
That's
or
the
something
other
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
They
That's
had
the
the
other
I Love Boobies bracelets that they handed out a long time ago.
Just you saying "I love boobies" could be a replay for some spot ad somewhere else. But I'm sorry, but we're three men talking about breast cancer with Joe Daues. This is really a fun Friday.
Oh gosh, yeah. Thanks
I
for.
love
By the
it.
way, thanks for having me on, both of you
Thank you.
guys.
Hey,
I
we're glad-
appreciate being here.
glad to have you here.
Our goal here, of course, is to mention things that aren't normally talked about. You're already doing that. There's Jeepin for a cause. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun.
Jeepin for a cure.
For a cure,
Yep.
for a
Mhm.
cure.
Yep.
Jeepin for a cure. How far-reaching when this is over? What is the outcome going to be? Jeepin for a cure. When the event is over, what will you get from that? What will happen?
We expect the whole purpose of what they do is it's twofold. First, they want to have an event that has fun. These guys
Yes.
go out and
Okay.
pandemic didn't affect them.
Yeah.
They hop in their Jeep and they take a ride in the country.
Jeep
you know?
people are
Yeah.
Jeep people.
So they loved it, but they love getting out and they love this kind of an event. So they're there to have fun and congregate as a group.
Yes.
So all I have to do is make sure we do it socially responsible,
Okay.
right? And distancing. But their whole goal is to raise money for us. So they're going to raise, I think, and my COO will not be happy with me, but I'll say we expect them to raise north of $30,000 for us
Wonderful.
this year.
When you have that, where does that money go? Is there a specific place for that?
Great question. So, and I'm standing on the shoulders of many who've come before me, board members, volunteers, organizers, Mary Beth and Charlie O'Reilly. They set up an endowment 20 years ago. And then we have this money set up in perpetuity, invested,
Wow.
so that BCFO will be able to help families for generations.
Very smart.
So part of the money that we raise every year goes to the endowment. Most of the money we use goes straight to help families. So this year, I'll just give you the lifetime of our program. We have pumped in 20 years $6.25 million into the economy
Wow.
of Southwest Missouri. These are donations. If you make a donation today,
Yeah.
that money goes straight into our donation bucket. We don't take any of that for administration, which is unique in itself. And then we take that money and we say, okay, between 30 and 50 new breast cancer and returning breast cancer patients come to us every month and say, I can't pay my rent. I need help with my utilities. I've got insurance. I've got kids going to school. I can't buy their clothes. You name it. And we say, and we have a committee of 16. They're doctors. They're all kinds of people in the community, and they determine how much we can help each family. So we do. That's called client assistance. We've done $6.2 million. So donations go right back in to help our economy.
And it's right here in Springfield.
It's the Ozarks.
The
so
Ozarks.
It's the
So
Ozarks
you've
in
got
general.
reach
So
that
down through
includes-
Joplin,
Okay.
a couple counties in North Arkansas,
Yes.
and over the West Plains. So
Yes.
just the Ozarks in specific. And then secondly, we also use money to pay for free screening mammograms. So for women that cannot afford it,
I have a question for Joe. He may have worded it wrong. Does Joe's wife still make the granola?
Granola.
Granola.
How do you know? Was that on? Is somebody asking that?
Yeah, we're broadcasting live and people comment.
Joe and Christine Daues
That's
were
Steve
the
Schultz.
husband and wife
Steve.
duo on KSPR. We can say that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome because their big goal as a couple
That's where
was
I've
to
seen
be
you before.
co-anchors.
Because I thought I've seen you before. You look very familiar. But
I
it's,
always
you know,
wanted to co-anchor with Connie Chung, but that's a throwback before your time, man.
I know who Connie
yeah.
Chung
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Chung.
The woman who married Maury Povich.
Maury Povich.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Connie Chung back in the day.
She's hardcore.
she was no nonsense.
Yeah, my wife was that way too. She was pretty all business. all
Yes.
the
So
news
you were
stuff.
on camera where at? Like what?
So I started way back in the day. I spent 5 years in radio.
Yeah.
So my first jobs were in Rolla, Lebanon, and then Springfield, Missouri. And then got my first shot after trying. I sent out 100 tapes for years, 5 years. Could never get a TV job. Too young. Sorry, you look too young.
You look like a kid.
We're not gonna
still
put
have
you
that
on.
boy face.
You don't look a day over 63.
There
He's
you
got,
go.
he's got that little Pee Wee Herman smile going right there.
Where's my bike?
All right,
Yeah.
keep going. Keep
I'm a
going.
loner, Dottie. So 5 years into it, I made my goal and got a job at Color 10, the CBS affiliate in
Yeah.
Springfield. Left for a year, came back, weekend anchor, worked there for about 10 years, did Fox TV in Tulsa, came back here, and then was out of the business for a while, co-anchored with Christine at KSPR and the ABC for 3 years. And then she said, I'm out. We've got young kids. This is killing me because she was putting the kids down, coming back to do the 9 o'clock news, and then she's gone. And so our 10 o'clock
So that
news.
is Steve Schultz says. So is that a yes or a no? They're not.
It's
I
a
mean,
no.
obviously it's a no. They're not making
no.
the granola or the granla,
I
as he
will-
put.
It's granola. Granola, by the way.
Granola.
Granola love.
So I will tell you, Steve,
Tell 'em.
that my breakfast hasn't been the same for 5 years.
So you still make it?
No, my wife makes
Okay.
it personally for me once in a while.
Once in a while.
But we don't make that. We had a pretty good operation. We had a co-packer in Arizona that made it for us. It took us 6 or 7 places just to be able to replicate the recipe. But she made some great granola.
Yeah. Well,
Great stuff.
Well, that's wonderful. I've got another surprise for you, but it's not really a surprise, so don't get too excited. But
Oh.
Joe, something new comes my way all the time, and so what comes rolling your way today is I've got a company called Crosslight Courage. We specialize in solar yard crosses. They're used for different purposes. Some have a patriotic cross, some have a white showing support for their faith. Others want to show back the blue. We have pink crosses available. So if people want to donate to Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks, we want to take all of that and put it right into a pink cross for you to give to somebody who's going through a hard time with breast cancer and would like that light up pink cross in their yard, or maybe they have someone to memorialize, but you would know the situation, Joe, better than anyone. You'd be able to receive that. People can donate. I'm throwing that your way because that's in my heart is to how can I channel some of this that I'm doing for solar yard crosses so people can share the light. How can we do that with a pink cross? I'd like to be able to talk to you more about that.
Let's talk about that. We
Yeah.
can sit down and shoot. And this is a great example. What we're doing right now. Everything is conducted essentially through social media these days.
Yes.
I mean, we're having our event tonight on our YouTube channel.
Great.
And so that would be the best way. We would roll this out through our Facebook and Instagram, maybe our Twitter accounts,
Yes.
and just lay it out there for people. What a great
And my goal
symbol.
is to help you and help you help others the way that you already know how to do.
That's a great symbol. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I love about this particular thing. It's called Morning Mouth. It's at 9 to. Can we say when it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to expand it to 1 hour. Aren't
Whoa.
you glad?
Wow.
Aren't you glad you didn't get in on that?
I don't
Yeah,
have
it's
that
going to
kind
be
of time
from
today.
What kind of time?
it's going to be from 9 to 10.
We'd have to have 2 guests on this show. We would also have to take care of certain needs, but this is an expanding format where we want let people hear things they don't normally hear. So Joe, to you, from me, Johnny Rooster, if you know of someone that wants to present something on the internet, this is one avenue they can
45
do
seconds.
that.
You-
Johnny Rooster.
You might regret telling me that because
'Cause-
I have a ton of contacts that
Well,
would love to come visit.
And
with
I
you.
would love to visit with them. I truly would. I'm wanting to line up the schedule and let them be able to have this. It doesn't cost a thing other than a little time, and it's a lot of fun. Guys, it's been wonderful talking today with Joe Daues. He is the CEO, Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
How about happy birthday to me?
Is this your birthday?
Yes, it is.
Why, happy birthday. What a wonderful thing. He comes in on his own birthday.
Special day for me. Thank
Happy
you both for
birthday,
making
Joe.
it that
We
way.
would have had a cake or something
Absolutely.
for you.
Ah, I don't
You
want a
got
cake.
us for sure. That was the zinger.
That
was
was.
the icing on the birthday cake.
Well said.
Bye, everybody. We'll see y'all next
Happy
week.
birthday, Joe.
Be sure and tune in next for the happy hour with Dr. Paul Collins and his wife, Nancy. Anyways, bye.